Have you ever wondered why, in a world filled with billions of people, one person becomes impossible to replace? It isn't because they were perfect. It isn't because they never made mistakes. Love doesn't choose perfection, it chooses truth. Sometimes the heart recognizes something long before the mind can explain it. There is a quiet connection that survives distance, fear, uncertainty, and time. It isn't loud, it doesn't demand attention, it simply remains. Today, we're going to explore the deep reasons why someone says, "My love, this is why I chose you over anyone else." Because real love isn't about having endless options. It's about finding the one soul that feels like home, even in a restless world. There comes a moment in life when you stop chasing what is loud. You stop believing that love has to be dramatic to be real. You begin to understand that the strongest emotions rarely arrive with fireworks. They arrive quietly. They enter your life without asking for attention, and before you realize it, they have changed the way you see everything around you. Before you, I thought love had to feel like a constant race. I believed that uncertainty was excitement. I confused emotional chaos with passion. Every difficult conversation felt like proof that something meaningful was happening. Every emotional high made me ignore the exhausting lows that always followed. I kept searching for intensity because I didn't yet know the value of peace. Then you appeared. Nothing about you demanded that I become someone else. You didn't ask me to perform. You didn't expect me to wear a mask or pretend to be stronger than I was. Around you, silence never felt uncomfortable. It became a language of its own. Somehow, without trying, you made ordinary moments feel more valuable than extraordinary ones I had spent years chasing. That was unfamiliar. Most people notice love when their heart beats faster. I noticed it when my heart finally slowed down. For the first time, I wasn't constantly wondering where I stood. I wasn't decoding mixed signals or questioning every conversation. I wasn't trying to earn affection through endless effort. There was no competition, no games, no invisible test I had to pass every single day. Instead, there was something much rarer. There was safety. And safety is often misunderstood. Many people think safety is boring because it doesn't create emotional storms. But storms are not what keep people alive. Shelter does. There is a quiet strength in someone who makes you feel accepted before you have explained yourself. There is something deeply healing about looking into another person's eyes and realizing you don't have to defend who you are. You allowed me to exist without constantly proving my worth. That changed me more than any grand romantic gesture ever could. People often spend years searching for someone who makes them feel alive. Very few realize that the greatest gift is finding someone who allows them to feel at peace while being alive. Peace doesn't erase pain, it simply reminds you that pain is no longer the center of your life. When I was with you, I noticed small things I had ignored before. The way time slowed during simple conversations. The comfort of sitting together without needing to fill every second with words. The feeling that even difficult days became lighter simply because they were shared. Nothing magical happened. Everything meaningful happened. There is a difference. Real love doesn't always arrive as an explosion. Sometimes it arrives like sunrise. You don't notice the exact second darkness disappears. You only realize that somehow everything has become brighter. You never tried to rescue me. You never acted like my wounds made you a hero. You simply stayed. And sometimes staying is the loudest expression of love. People underestimate consistency because it isn't exciting enough for stories. Stories celebrate dramatic reunions. Life celebrates the people who never left. I started paying attention to what happened inside me whenever we were together. My breathing became slower. My thoughts became quieter. My fears lost their grip. The constant noise inside my mind slowly faded into the background, not because my problems disappeared, but because your presence reminded me that I didn't have to carry every burden alone. That realization is difficult to describe. It feels less like falling, more like finally standing on solid ground after spending years trying to balance on unstable surfaces. There is an invisible exhaustion that comes from always protecting yourself, always expecting disappointment, always preparing for someone to walk away. You never promised forever. You simply treated today with honesty. Oddly enough, that felt more trustworthy than 1,000 beautiful promises. Trust isn't built through perfect words. It's built through repeated actions, tiny moments, daily choices. Small acts that quietly say, I'm still here. Over time, those moments become stronger than any declaration, because actions continue speaking long after words become memories. I realized I wasn't smiling because life had suddenly become perfect. I was smiling because I no longer felt alone inside my imperfections. There is freedom in that. The kind of freedom no amount of success can purchase. You reminded me that love isn't about escaping reality. It's about finding someone willing to walk through reality beside you. Not ahead of you, not behind you, beside you. That simple difference changes everything. I used to think choosing someone meant choosing happiness. Now I know it means choosing peace, even on unhappy days. Because happiness comes and goes. Peace teaches you how to remain. I looked around at all the people I had admired before. Some were impressive, some were beautiful, some were unforgettable, but none of them gave me what you gave without even realizing it. The permission to simply be human, to have doubts, to grow slowly, to fail, to laugh without pretending everything was okay, to admit weakness without feeling smaller. That kind of acceptance becomes rare as people grow older. Most relationships become negotiations. You made ours feel like understanding. You listened beyond my words. Sometimes you understood what I couldn't explain myself, not because you could read my mind, because you paid attention to my heart. That kind of attention cannot be faked. It comes only from genuine care. There were days when I had nothing inspiring to say, nothing impressive to offer, nothing extraordinary to become. Yet somehow you stayed exactly the same. You never treated my value as something that depended on my best days. You reminded me that people deserve love on ordinary days too. Maybe that's why I chose you. Not because you completed me, not because you saved me, not because you were flawless. I chose you because around you, I no longer felt pressured to become someone worthy of love before receiving it. I simply experienced what it felt like to be accepted while still growing. And once a person experiences that kind of peace, the noise of everything else becomes impossible to mistake for love. There is something most people never say out loud. We all carry hidden rooms inside us. Rooms filled with old disappointments, silent fears, forgotten dreams, childhood wounds, and pieces of ourselves we quietly lock away because we believe no one could truly accept them. We learn to smile while protecting those places. We become skilled at showing only the parts of ourselves that seem easy to love. For a long time, I did the same. I believed love depended on performance. I believed that if someone ever saw the full truth of who I was, they would slowly lose interest. So I became careful. I measured my words. I hid my fears. I carried my struggles alone, because that felt safer than risking rejection. Then you entered my life. You never demanded that every part of me be polished. You never expected perfection before offering kindness. Somehow, without asking, you made honesty feel less frightening. That changed everything. Real love is not discovering someone's strengths. Anyone can admire confidence. Anyone can celebrate success. Anyone can stay during easy seasons. The real question is what happens when the polished version disappears? What happens when exhaustion replaces confidence? When uncertainty replaces certainty? When silence replaces conversation? That is where love reveals its true nature. You never looked at my imperfections as problems waiting to be fixed. You looked at them as parts of my story. And stories are not beautiful because every chapter is happy. They are beautiful because every chapter matters. There were moments when I doubted myself more than anyone else ever could. Moments when my own thoughts became louder than the voices around me. Moments when I questioned whether I was enough, enough to be loved, enough to be understood, enough to build a future with someone. You didn't erase those doubts. You simply refused to let them define me. Sometimes people think encouragement means giving perfect advice. Often it means quietly reminding someone of who they are when they have forgotten. You became that reminder, not through speeches, not through dramatic promises, but through the way you treated me every single day. Your respect remained consistent. Your kindness remained steady. Your patience remained real. Those things speak louder than words ever could. I realized something important because of you. Acceptance does not mean pretending flaws do not exist. Acceptance means recognizing them without making someone feel smaller because of them. That is a rare gift. Many people are loved for what they accomplish. Very few are loved for who they are, beneath the accomplishments. You saw the tired version of me, the uncertain version, the quiet version, the version that had no answers, the version that didn't know what tomorrow would bring. And somehow you never acted as though those moments made me less valuable. That kind of acceptance creates trust. Not the kind of trust built in one unforgettable moment, the kind built through hundreds of ordinary moments. A conversation after a difficult day, a gentle smile when words feel impossible, a hand reaching out without needing an explanation, a reminder that presence is sometimes more powerful than solutions. People often underestimate how healing it is to feel emotionally safe. Safety allows honesty, honesty allows growth. Growth allows love to become something deeper than attraction, because attraction can disappear with time. Acceptance grows stronger with it. I never wanted someone who admired only my brightest moments. I wanted someone who could sit beside me when life became quiet. Someone who understood that strength is not the absence of vulnerability. Strength is having the courage to remain open, despite knowing life can disappoint us. You understood that without me ever having to explain it. You never rushed my healing. You never became impatient with my silence. You never treated my past as something that made me unworthy of a future. Instead, you gave me something I didn't realize I had been searching for. Space to breathe, space to change, space to learn, space to become, without pressure, without judgment, without fear that every mistake would become a reason to leave. That kind of love is gentle, and gentle things often last the longest. The world teaches us to impress people. You quietly taught me something different. Connection matters more than perfection. Understanding matters more than appearances. Kindness matters more than being right. When someone truly accepts you, you stop wasting energy pretending to be someone else. You begin living instead of performing. You begin speaking instead of rehearsing. You begin trusting instead of constantly preparing for disappointment. That transformation happens slowly, almost invisibly, until one day you realize you are no longer afraid to be completely yourself. That realization is priceless. It changes the way you love. It changes the way you forgive. It changes the way you see other people. Because once someone gives you genuine acceptance, you naturally want to offer that same acceptance in return. Love becomes less about changing each other and more about helping each other become who you were always meant to be. I chose you because you never asked me to hide the parts of myself that life had already made difficult to carry. You never treated my scars as evidence that I was broken. You treated them as proof that I had survived. And there is quiet beauty in being seen that way, not as someone who needs to be rescued, not as someone who needs to be remade, but simply as someone worthy of love exactly where they are while still becoming who they can be.